What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Real Spit from a Gangsta Gone Legit. Today, we have my man, Taron Tibbs. What's up, brother? Welcome to the format, man. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, Taron, where are you originally from?
Well, I mean, when you ask that question, usually it means what hood you from, right?
What hood you from?
So, I could say I'm from two hoods. So I grew up on Lyndhurst, and we kind of I had my friends on Lyndhurst. We weren't like a gang, like a violent street gang, but we were camaraderie. I knew these kids since I was like a teenager playing basketball down Wainwright Park, playing video games in the basement, with the lunches and stuff. But then by the time I was like 15, I had a new set of friends. And, so it was more about money. So it was like one day we went down Norfolk Street. I had my friends that knew people that was on that hung on Norfolk. And so I was kind of just with them. And we went down Norfolk Street. There was a block. They was making money. It was like, but it wasn't like a gang. It was more like, it was some kids from the next three streets. So you had the hip hop gangsters that was on that fit. You had the Magic Crew, which was a bunch of dudes my age, and they were more into playing sports and basketball and stuff. But it was like that time, and it was like where you could sit on a crate and have jumps in your pocket.
What time we talking about?
We're talking about like 1990 and 89. So
coming out of the 80s and going into the early 90s.
So around that time, things were like, it was new to us to even like see something like that, and it was so easy to make money, and the cops really wasn't even paying mind. They didn't even really know what we were doing, and it just was like, money was falling out the sky. It was literally like that, you know what I mean?
So when you say money was falling out of the sky, what do you mean? What was you selling, drugs?
I was selling drugs. I was 15 years old when I got down, and I was very influenced by just making money. And that was the gist of it. Like, it really didn't have anything to do with like, we're like a street gang or something. Nobody really wasn't saying nothing like that. It was more like, let's get these
bikes your homies.
We were just friends, and we just was like, there was a block, and it was like, hey, come on down, like, you cool, you know what I mean? And that's all it really was. But it didn't take no time at all before that changed.
Oh, okay. So how did that happen?
That changed when it was like, it's like older dudes. They were jealous because we were young. We were 15, 16 years old. Older dudes would come around. They're jealous. They see us making money. Because by then, now we wearing the 8-ball jackets with the Sherlins.
Right.
We got anchor chains, Gucci links. And they see that and they're like, yo, what are these little dudes doing?
Right.
And so then that's when older dudes would come around, and they'd be like, telling us they're going to take over our block and all of that. So then it would go from just being friends, hanging out, making money, smoking weed, just, doing dumb stuff, still playing basketball, like, you know what I mean? You got packs in your socks with you at the park playing basketball, you know what I mean? We were still kids. And it got to a place where now we got to defend what we have.
Right.
So then that's when the gunplay comes. Now we're talking about, now we got to stick together. Before it wasn't about that.
Right.
Before we were all from different areas, but now we got to stick together because we got to protect not only the block, but we got to protect each other. And it just happened organically. Like, you know what I mean? Where you would, like, I don't understand how, like, nowadays a lot of young dudes getting killed. Dudes were getting killed back then. But you knew that was on the table. So, like, I remember, like, if we dropped you off, like, we waited for you to get in the house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, like we were very protective of one another.
Right.
And it was because we just knew that was on the table. Like, you can get got really easily. So it was just a different time, and
So you guys didn't set out to become a gang. It was just because you started making money. As you're making money, you got people who are looking at you as prey, and you all were friends, so childhood friends. So you decided that you all were going to have each other's back and make sure that you were going to protect yours.
Right.
So you kind of fell into it by default as far as being a gang.
Right. So it wasn't something that you set out and said, "Oh, we're going to be a violent street gang." It was more like it just kind of happened organically, and you found yourself in it. You just was in it. You just like so you couldn't really go anywhere unless you had a gun on you. So that became life. Like I used to carry 2 guns. When I was 17, I went to jail the first time. I used to carry a 2.5 in my back pocket and a 357 under my seat in my car. I'm 17 years old. I shouldn't have to live like that. I shouldn't be making those kind of decisions at that age.
So you used to ride around with 2 guns on you. What a life, man. And you did that because you felt like what? What was the purpose of the 2 guns?
Well, we had there was a lot of different elements, right? So you had, dudes that you got beef with, but then you also had the stick-up kids, right? So on our block, we had a couple of different stick-up kids, and the thing was, you ain't taking my shit. So it was so crazy. I used to ride around on a Baja with the 2.5 in my back pocket with drugs in my mouth. How dumb was that, right?
Right.
But that's where you were, because you just was like, you know what? I don't care if they catch me today, catch me. I'm going on blaze of glory. So you start to think like that, and you start to you're not even doing things that make sense. And I think you're escaping death. You think you're escaping death or situations, and you're getting away with it. So you start doing it more and more.
So after your county bid for guns, when you went to jail, that first time it didn't change anything, right? You went a second time, correct?
No. So when you're young and you go to jail, and then when you come home, it's a party. You know what I mean? Like, I remember getting out, I had a lot of jewelry. So I remember the first day out, a couple of my friends, they bought me new sneakers, new Champions. We used to wear the Champions back then. And the day I got sentenced, I took off all my jewelry and I gave it to my grandmother. So when I came home, she gave me the jewelry back. And so I'm fresh from head. I ain't got no money, but I'm fresh from head to toe, and I'm jewelried out. I got more jewelry than everybody that been out, right? And it didn't take that long, probably 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and I got a visit from the Connect, and it was like that. It was back on and popping. And not even no time at all, I had a new truck. Actually, not a truck, I bought a BM, but I had a truck already. So I had a Cherokee, and then I bought a BMW. So when I was 18, I had a BMW, cherry apple red BMW. I had the car phone, remember the ones that used to light up?
Big ones, right.
So when dudes was like, by the time Paid in Full, the movie came out, we already had that shit. Like, you know what I mean? That was 9X, because my phone was on. So before dudes had cell phones and all that shit, I had a car phone, because the BMs came with the car phones, right? Back in those days. So imagine I'm 18 years old, I got a cherry apple red BMW, I'm jewelried from head to toe. My pops already hit me to silks and stuff, so I'm wearing silk shirts, leather pants. Life was what I see on TV now, like I said, we did that shit 20 years ago, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not really pressed to be noticed. Because I already know what that's like. You know what I mean? It's not on my radar.
So how soon after your first bid and you came home, how soon after did you catch your second one?
I didn't go back to jail till I was 31 years old, man.
Oh, right. Okay.
So if you're a good hustler, you don't get caught, right? So, And in between times, like I said, I would work. I'd get a job, man, disappear from the hood for 6 months, man,
Right.
to a year, man. You know, I went to school for appliance repair. So I used to work at Sears. I was an appliance repair technician. I worked there for a couple of months, but everything always led right back to the hood, because it was like. And it was always, the thought process was, if this shit don't work out, I'm going back to the hood. And it never worked out, and you would always end up right back in the hood, because you can go to the hood and you get love in the hood. Right. You get love in the hood, you can make money in the hood.
So you was taking breaks, you go get a job for a little bit, and go back.
Yeah, when it was hot, some shit was going on, you just would disappear. And you disappear and it would just be a job. You know?
So tell me this. I want to know 5 regrets that you have from being in the street life.
Okay, 5 regrets.
Yeah.
One of my regrets were I didn't spend a lot of time with my daughter when she was little, because I was too busy running the streets.
Right.
It's a blur, because I was always like high, smoking, drinking, so it's a blur. So I don't really remember it like I should. I regret my little brother. He got killed, and I believe that he was trying to be what he considered to be cool, popular, like I was when I was his age, and unfortunately he got killed in the streets. I regret having the police coming back and forth in my grandmother's house, and I regret not, because I was on a track, like my grandmother had me on a track to be, you know, I went to Boston Latin school, and in the 9th grade I begged her to let me go to Dorchester High, and I think life changed after about a year at Dorchester. Life changed because I was like always in the hood, and you know, I started hanging with the friends that eventually led me to you know, being a part of the gang scene, and I think one of the biggest things that I regret is that now, like, I'm older, so, you know, I went to college and all of this stuff in my 30s. I graduated from Suffolk when I was 40. But I wish I would have did all of that 20 years ago, you know, because I wasted a lot of time. And now that when you get older, once you start approaching, you know, your 50s, I'm 46 now. Once you start approaching your 50s, you start feeling like you're running out of time. Right. So I think I wasted a lot of time where I could have been progressed a lot more in life. You know, I wouldn't be here playing catch up. I would be a lot more established. So yeah.
You know, they say you can't judge a book by its cover, and I say that because sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm trying to picture Taron with the 2 guns and in these streets, you know, wilding and living up to the reputation he had, right? And I can't help but to think, dang, this nerd dude right here, man. And, you know, you really sound proper, which is a really good thing. I'm joking, but
so let me tell you something about that. So I had a job. I was working at Expressway Toyota, and I actually got fired because they said I talked. I was using too much ebonics on the telephone, and I was really embarrassed by that because I felt like, you know, like that's the way I talk, like you know, like the way I come from. This is how we all talk, like, and I felt embarrassed because I liked the job, right? And so
you mean you actually got fired for the way you was talking?
For the way that I talked. Wow. And so then I went to school, and I promised myself, I said, that will never happen. Okay. And so I started to develop, just from being around, not being around people that talk slang all day. Right. it just kind of happened. Like if you go down south, you come back speaking
With a
like
little-
down
right,
south.
right, a
So
little
just from being around
accent.
people that are not always talking slang, I think it just rubbed off on my vocabulary. And plus, I did a lot of reading, a lot of studying, so I was able to take in insert words where before I probably would cuss or, you know, or be like or
Right.
but whatever, you know what I mean? So it just kind of like it was something that I needed to fine tune to be able to make a switch into, you know, into the work world. Really, more or less. I mean, you know, I just didn't want to be rejected because of the way that I talked. You know what I mean? So
no, that's respectable, man. And it's impressive. So I wanted to ask. You said, look, I just did twice, and you just talked about that, right? But anyway, you said earlier in the interview, we talked about the homies, and I asked, how was you able to transition away from them and not get caught up and still, because a lot of dudes are still caught up with their old hoods or some of their old homies and stuff like that, and they can't get away. How did you break away from that without it being a problem? Like, how did you get away from the gang life? How did you leave your homeboys alone? How did you do that? Or did you do that?
So I would say that my friends are still my friends, right? And I pick and choose what I do and what I don't do. So I'm not gonna go hang in the hood. I'm not gonna hang on the street corner, right? I'm not gonna hang on the side street. But like recently, last year, me and my homie we was deep in the streets. We took a cruise. We went to Mexico, Belize, what we do, Mexico, Belize, Honduras. So we're on a cruise ship at night in the middle of the ocean, and we're like, yo, this shit's epic. You know what I mean? We went out the country. And you know, I'm subject to like skirt off to like a cookout in Brockton or somewhere. Like, I just don't do the local thing, and I don't do the hangout thing. I go to an event, I go to a celebration, you know, a birthday celebration, something like that. So I pick and choose what I do, and I don't do everything. I just pick and choose what I do. So I gotta use my head and be like, you know what? I'll go somewhere where it's just neutral. It's not like, you know, it's not in the element, you know what I mean? And like I said, a lot of people grew up and they're not doing the same things that they used to do. Okay. You know?
So in every episode, I ask the guests to look into the camera and talk directly to the young brothers about the street life and what your take on it is. Because of course, your experience from it, you lived through it, you changed, you transitioned from a thug basically to a law-abiding citizen, really.
I'm a citizen.
Not law-abiding.
I'm a citizen.
Hey, this is real spit, bro.
I'm a citizen.
You gotta keep it real. That's what's up.
Saying?
That's what's up. But yeah. But you know, I want you to talk to them and tell them exactly from your heart, man, what your spill is.
All right. So this is the deal, right? Hustling is in us. We ain't gonna stop hustling. We're attracted to it. We like fast money. We like living fast life. We like having nice things, right? So nobody's saying that you can't have nice things. What I would say is, it's been my experience that you can get a job, you learn a skill, you get a job, right? You keep that job because that's one income. You know, you heard 7 incomes, right? 7 streams of incomes, but I'm gonna put it to you a little bit different. You get a job and you keep it. While you got that job, you start your own side business. We call it side hustle. It could be side hustle Saturday, whatever the case may be. Start a side business. Work on that side business till it starts to bring in real income. That's your quickest way to get into 6 figures. You don't have to be broke just because somebody says you need to get a job, because that's just one income. You don't have to feel like you're nothing to nobody as long as you're working on something. You're just gonna have to stand up for yourself and till you get there. And when you get there, everybody's happy. But while you're on that road, you might have to travel that road alone. And it's fine, because you're gonna have to eventually become your own man anyway. It's inevitable. Peace.
That's what's up, brother. Look, man, I want to thank you for coming on this platform and sharing your story with us, man. What we're trying to do with Real Spit from a Gangsta Gone Legit is reach the young brothers, man, in hopes that they hear something that they can relate to in their lives, and they're willing to make that transition as well, and change for the better. And I believe that after hearing your story, there's definitely something in there for someone that's going to hear and they're going to be able to change. In closing, man, again, I just want to thank you, and I want to say, like I do always to the young brothers out there, the streets love no one, the streets are fake. Just please, man, learn that it's okay to grow old. Learn that it's not, you're not a sucker because you want to do the right thing, and stop worrying about what other people think about you. You agree with that?
Yeah. You're gonna have to grow up, and you're gonna have to feel like, okay, it don't matter what nobody's saying about you, because guess what? They ain't gonna be in the hole with you. They ain't gonna do the whole time with you when the air conditioner is on you and you in your drawers and your t-shirt trying to stay warm. You can't even sleep. They ain't gonna do that with you, right? They not gonna take care of your children if you get locked up. They not gonna raise your children. They ain't gonna do none of that. So it's best to be here. It's best to do what you need to do for yourself so you can stand on your own too as a man.
That's what's up. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, brother.